render, white stucco type material. This was one of the first there, big white main architecture. It's been a very interesting trend in London as housing construction has boomed. That's become the norm style. The reason is, of course, because it's cheap. And here you see there one mode, but there we'll see quite interesting, notable brick new housing scheme. What's happening at the moment is the fashion for render is starting to decline because people are starting to see the render fail on buildings, and brick is starting to reassert itself as a very practical cladding material. It's been a really interesting little minor story, the reassertion of brick, which of course is a traditional London material, so it also has a sense of resonance with London. But I think in part it's because there's been an experiment with cheap construction in a boom, and now people are seeing it failing. We're seeing a lot of buildings from 10 years ago with scaffolding going up to fix the render.
The last decade, the first decade of this century, the last decade in exhibition, probably one of the most exciting periods in terms of new building and architecture in London. And it started probably in the late 1990s, 96, 97. And a number of things changed the way London was working. First of all, London pulled out and recovered from the recession of the early 1990s. Secondly, a very strange thing happened. The outgoing Conservative government decided to set up a national lottery. And the national lottery decided to put I think it was about 20% of its profits into commissioning new buildings for the millennium. And this represented a very significant new investment in public buildings that hadn't happened in London for a very, very long time. The second thing that happened was the new government, the Labour government under Tony Blair, actually was very interested in art, design and the creative industries and architecture. They had a strategy to try and move the United Kingdom away from looking at the past, looking at its legacy, looking at Shakespeare and the Queen and soldiers marching up and down outside Buckingham Palace, looking to try and celebrate design and creativity. They set up something called CAVE, which is a Commission for Architecture and the Built Environment. They re-established London government, which had been abolished 15 years earlier by Margaret Thatcher, established a mayor, Ken Livingstone. That's probably where Mark comes in. Richard Rogers was asked by Ken Livingstone to be his architectural advisor. Richard said, rather than take a fee, he asked the mayor to put that fee into establishing an architectural team, the Architecture and Urbanism Unit under Mark. And that's the beginning, I think, of London starting to recognise that by looking outwards, by looking forwards, and using architecture as a manifestation of this new confidence, as a city playing on a global stage, competing with New York and Tokyo. That was the beginning of a fantastic period of commissioning, backed up by an economy which is incredibly strong and incredibly buoyant up until the financial crisis in 2008. So what we see here, I think, is a manifestation of public money coming in through the lottery, the London government which was interested in promoting good design, the national government doing the same, and a recognition that London was a commercial centre and your business was reflected by your architecture and the building that you sat in. And through that, there was a filtering down. So you see here in this decade, not just commercial buildings, a few very, very beautifully designed private residential buildings. You see public buildings commissioned as part of the millennium and later. but also, and the last element was school buildings. And a very, very conscious desire by the last government to invest in education. And you see here a number of buildings which are designed as school buildings, again producing new architectural forms and replacing the outmoded education infrastructure we had. And of course it finishes with where we are today with the Olympics and the re-emergence of London after the recession of '08, with a whole new generation of major commercial buildings which will re-establish London's architectural legacy for the next 10 years.
I think that's nearly a good place to finish. Do you want to carry on?
I think really, I mean, probably the best thing is Mark and I just stay here and answer questions, or if there's any particular buildings anyone wants to go back to, we'll go back with you. But thank you for your patience, your attendance.
Thank you.
Better off for the 10 cents.